November 7th meeting of the Conservation Commission will stand and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item on the agenda is John Duclos, RDA 99 Plymouth Boulevard, repair septic system in the buffer zone. Greg, how you doing?
Very good, Paul. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I did place some new magnets there.
I'm just gonna ask you.
Yeah, I put half of them there, Leon. I don't think we need to put them all.
Let's see if they actually work. There goes
I think we need them all.
the town budget.
We already had a budget meeting and we were denied.
All right, Greg, go ahead.
For the record, Greg Nicholas, South Coast Engineering, on behalf of John Duclos, with property 99 Plymouth Boulevard. What we have here is a repair to a existing septic system. Existing system was simply a cesspool, which is the original septic system to this house. House was constructed in 1963. Cesspool has worked for 60 years, although I doubt it's protecting anything as far as health and safety goes. So what we're proposing here is a McIntyre system with a Presby field. The field itself is 44.8 feet from the limit, from the high water at South Temple Pond, which is also the BVW. Those are familiar with the area. This is a rock shore, if you will. In this area, I suspect is historic fill. On this side, we are 36.4 feet from the surface water. We're proposing here, as far as sedimentation control and construction is going on, is this compost filter tube, as shown on the plan. I don't anticipate that this construction will take much more than a week, at which point everything will be backfilled and something in place over here, probably a jute mesh to cover up the area to preserve it in the winter. I don't think we're going to be getting much growth at this time of year. The one thing I'd like to add to this is being presented as an RDA. Ordinarily, any septic system is going to be less than 50 feet from, in this case, BVW and the surface water would necessitate NOI. But on checking on the setback, I did find in the Act, this is the reason it's being presented, under section 10.03, the setback distance specified above, which is 50 foot, shall not be required for renovation or replacement, but is required for substantial enlargement of septic systems constructed prior to the effective date of 310 CMR, provided no alternative location is available on the lot, and such work has been approved by the local Board of Health Department. This has gone through the Board of Health, it is approved, and this is a 1963 cesspool. The others I can find for the Act is 1973 when it came about. The reason I'm bringing this up is I don't want to thank the Commission or anyone in the audience that this is a precedent for all septic systems repairs to be done in 98. I'm not going to say this is unique, I'm going to say it is a rare case because of the age of the system. The fact it's already approved. So that's what I'm going to Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, members, John Duclos, 99 Plymouth Boulevard. This is a request for determination of applicability presented by Greg Nicholas from South Coast Engineering. Report date is October 4th, 2023. We did miss the last meeting, so that's where the date comes into play. This is Board of Health approved. The site visit was also on October 4th, 2023. Description of the work: the applicant is filed to install a new Title V sewage disposal system in the buffer zone to south of Tupper Pond. The system will replace an existing cesspool located behind the home. The new leaching area will be in the lawn area at 36 foot at the closest point. The well radius pushes the location toward the pond. The erosion controls will be installed around the work location and will remain until stabilized. The activity, though close to resource area, is a major improvement to the area, as Greg mentioned. Recommendations: Westport Conservation should issue a negative box 3 determination with conditions that the erosion controls remain until the area is stabilized, or the use of jute netting, as Greg mentioned.
Any questions? No questions, looking for a motion.
So I'll move to approve the plan and issue a negative box 3 with conditions as Chris set out.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Second from Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, next we have John Western, notice of intent, 126 East Beach Road, form beach nourishment. How are you?
Thanks, sir. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental Consultants.
Do you have the butter notification cards with you?
They're in the file.
Okay.
You just make sure you grab the right one, Westerman. It's right here, sir. No, keep going. Right there.
All right, good. Go ahead, sir. You have
No, this is a removal of sand on 51 East Beach Road, remove of the gravel that accumulates over the winter.
Beach nourishment, John.
It's, as it blows up over the winter time, it had received permits back in '06, '07. There was a letter from the conservation agent about refiling to allow for the removal of the rock and gravel that blows up during the winter onto the
you're not
trailer
moving, you're
lots.
just pushing it back.
Push it back,
Yeah.
correct, like the town does with the great all or front end
Right.
loader, they take it off the road. This is pushing it back, we have exhibits within the notice of intent. It's a very small plan, it just shows the lot is 50 feet wide by 135 feet deep, it shows the mean annual high water. We have exhibits showing how the lot is cleared off like other trailer lots along this 51 East Beach. And where, again, the letter from the agent said to file it after the fact, if you don't have an active notice of intent. We did go through rare species, one, the piping plover. They did give us time periods that we could remove this material, and we modified our notice of intent project description to reflect the time periods that the Heritage Program gave us to remove the rock and gravel and push it towards, but not into the mean annual high water, but within 10 feet of the mean annual high water along the shoreline. We hear that this is a standard procedure along this portion of East Beach, and we're just following that procedure.
All right. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, this correctly is John Westerman, 126 East Beach Road. This is a trailer lot. Yes, we did issue letters to the trailer lots to have them comply with the wetlands regulations. So this is one of those applications. This is a notice of intent filing, EBT Environmental Consultants with Glenn here representing. October 19th, 23 is the date of the report. The file number is SE 802702. We did receive Natural Heritage Endangered Species comments and acceptance of this activity, given the time of year constraints that are associated with the piping plovers, inhabitants of our beaches. Site visit was on October 19, 2023. Description of the work, the owner is filing for the beach nourishment to the East Beach Road trailer lot. The site is on the ocean side of East Beach Road. The owner is applying to have an order of conditions issued to allow beach nourishment maintenance of the property. The sketch of the site has been provided. No work to take place within 10 feet of the annual mean high water mark. Natural Heritage Endangered Species approval has been received. So recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed beach nourishment maintenance as required with beach compatible materials no closer than 10 feet from mean high water, and Natural Heritage Endangered Species conditions apply. Mr. Chairman, that's a time of year restriction. That also pertains to the landowner being responsible for the protection of piping plovers, and I forget the other condition there is. Allowing bird monitoring if needed and fencing to be installed if such nest is located on their property. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
You know, if you bring any material in, Chris is supposed to inspect it. If you bring more material in, Chris should inspect it to make sure it's compatible, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any questions from the table? Any questions from the audience? All right. You have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay. You have a second?
I second it.
All right, second from Burke. Motion was from Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Have a good night,
Good night.
Good night. See you again.
We, yes, we'll be asking for extensions when we get close to this 3 years.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We would grant those.
Back in Worcester.
Okay, so the next hearing is James Cadero Jr., RDA 431 Main Road, refresh existing gravel driveway with new gravel in the riverfront area.
Remember, sweet.
How you doing?
Good, I did come up with a little plan, Mr. Chairman, if you open in there should be,
This one?
there's one I drew a little differently. I just come up with this, Jim, just for clarity. You can just do a brief, and I'll go from there, all right? Just introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Cadero. I bought Dwayne's old place, Hart Auto Body, cleaning it up. Anybody that goes by, they can see it looks a hell of a lot better than it used to. I just want to put some gravel in the driveway like it used to be. Over time, the gravel was just thrown in, weeds and stuff. And all I want to do is, I don't want to put tar or cement or anything like that. Just want to re-gravel the driveway. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I included photos to represent, the rehabilitation to the buildings with some vinyl siding and such, attached to the application, or the report rather. Thank you, Mr. Cadero. This is James Cadero, 431 Main Road. This request for determination of applicability. This report is dated October 30th, 2023. The owner has purchased a Hart Auto building across from Bittersweet Farms, adjacent to Wilfred's. The owner is requesting to add gravel to the existing entrance and over to the access of both garages. The remaining areas will be seeded and be maintained as lawn. The property borders Snell Creek, and a fair amount of BVW surrounds the property. The owner is trying to improve the site and maintain the existing use. The gravel will be placed in the existing areas and returned to lawn around the building. As you can see in the photos, he's pretty much established greenery around the back and out to the street. I didn't take that picture, but the town did improve that area. The gravel will be placed in the existing areas and then in front of the garages, and to access both garage accesses. Roughly as I show it there, he's not trying to create any more increase in area, and then that remaining bordering area will be maintained as mowable grass. So, given the location, the property being close to Snell Creek, there always has been a use here, so I don't think there's any further encroachment into that riverfront area. It's just maintaining currently this prior use. So I recommend to the board, the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the activity for that gravel placement within front of the existing garages at 431 Main Road with a negative box 3 determination.
Any no questions? Any questions from the field? No questions, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tom and,
You're good,
Me.
I'll mail that little thing out to you, and you'll be good to go, right? All right, thanks again, Jim, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
William Macris, notice of intent, 131 Pine Hill Road, for a single-family dwelling and septic in the buffer zone. So that goes in.
Oh, that goes, oh, you guys pop that in. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Great.
Macris?
Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
I'm well, thanks. Good evening, gentlemen. Mark Roberts, Analysis and Design Engineering. Before us tonight, we have a notice of intent filing, applicant being William Macris. The address is 131 Pine Hill Road. This current site, just over 82,000 square feet, currently has a greenhouse on it, as well as a farming shack. And the proposal in front of us today is to work the area in the buffer zone and outside the buffer zone with a proposed single-family residence, 3-bedroom, a detached garage, and a hoop house. Of course, with an on-site sewage disposal system. The soil absorption system lies outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, the wetland flagging. The structure, the single-family house, is within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Portions of the proposed two-bay garage are within the 100-foot buffer zone, and portions of the proposed hoop house lie within the 100-foot buffer zone. We've maintained with erosion controls a minimum 25-foot no activity, no touch for clearing, and the structures all maintain a minimum of 50-foot setback from the bordering vegetated wetlands. The on-site septic system includes obviously a denitrification system, and again, the leaching field is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, maintaining Title V setbacks. I defer to Chris. Thank you.
All right, Chris?
Mr. Chairman, Will Makris, 131 Pine Hill Road. It's a notice of intent application filed by ADE Engineering with Mark Rodricks here representing. Report date is October 31st, 2023. The file number for the project is SE 802705. There is no adverse conditions or no conditions that the state has implemented on that issuance. Agencies required to be notified. The Board of Health Director has approved this plan as you see it before you. Site visit was also on October 31st, 2023. Description of the work: the applicant has filed to construct a single-family home, well, and sewage disposal system on an existing lot. The work also includes two-bay garage, which is 24 by 48, and a 155 by 55 garden area, and a large hoop house, 100 by 30. The majority of work is within the 100-foot to the bordering vegetated wetland and associated intermittent stream. The existing site is currently a mature pine grove. The limits of tree clearing is shown with the erosion control stake at 25 to 38 feet, variably from the edge of that wetland. The impervious area, in my opinion, should have roof runoff infiltrated into dry wells or other methods considered. Seeing it's a farm use, maybe they would incorporate that into reusing of that water. They may be considering this already, but it's just a suggestion. I would consider as a condition the owner also install a split rail fence along the rear of the home and extending it along to Pine Hill Road. Just to provide a barrier for any future expansion or encroachment into the buffer zone. I think this is a lot of activity on a small little upland area. Not that it's not contributing nitrogen in effect, because it's being utilized for farming and such, but it is next to a little stream, and I think this would be beneficial. More so for the back of the home, because they're very close to the limit of that wetland as well as the property line itself. So I think they're aware of that, but I would like to see that something along those lines. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve with conditions that roof runoff be infiltrated or other substitute, and a split rail fence be installed along the rear of the home to Pine Hill Road and placed at the limit of the clearing proposed for this project. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, Mike?
No, I'll point out one thing. I want to point out that the current properties to the rear, where we're relatively close to the property line, are also owned by the applicant tonight, so those are his properties also in the back. And if the intent with the work done here is that the applicants are not interested, and actually are more interested in allowing any vegetative resources from moving their way to up to the 25-foot touch zone. But if, a split rail fence or something like that is recommended by the commission, I don't think that necessarily creates a problem. I've seen stones, I've seen trees, etc., but something of that nature to demarc a limit
Would be suffice. I only suggest split rail fence if that is, if there's another landscape feature they would like to utilize, that is fine.
You can work that out with Chris. If we vote on it and approve it, if they want to use boulders or whatever, you want to.
I think we could work that out. I don't see that as a showstopper or anything like that, the proposal.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Any questions from the commission?
What's a hoop house? Those series of hoops holding up some fabric? Is that what it?
Correct, yes. It's
Yeah.
probably a polyethylene plastic that is.
There's no excavation required to build one of those, is there?
No, sir.
No, there would be probably some amenities to implement to hold it in place, maybe
Yeah.
a stake or some sort of
If I could query the applicants, because I asked the same question, what's the difference between a hoop house and a greenhouse? And Chris, I don't know, you answered the question for me, so I think it has.
Yeah, this structure would be simple. You're just driving steel posts 3 feet into the ground and using that as a foundation to erect hoops over it, and it's covered in plastic.
Perfect. There you go.
What's all the hoopla?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
It's like a Quonset hut,
Sorry.
right? I mean, I would call it, it's a Quonset hut.
But he's
Same, right?
Well, he's growing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
basically
There's a
is.
little nuance.
Same shape, yeah.
Same shape, but with the ability to grow.
Any other questions down there? No? Okay. Any questions from the audience? No. All right, what about the, Chris's recommendation on the dry wells or some kind of roof runoff mitigation? Do you have any plans for that? Just
I hadn't incorporated those. I did look at the total percentage of impervious cover of the structures on the lot, and I did provide just some quick notation on the plan, somewhere on my plan. I put something about stormwater management's consideration. So given the fact that the total percentage of lot coverage was 4%, I did not include the incorporation of dry wells for roof runoff. And also noting that it is agricultural in nature, the preponderance of the application, other than single-family residence, of course. So I hadn't yet considered it, beyond the fact that I just identified that total impervious cover of the structures was was 4%. So if that pleases the commission, I think that's something that we could work out. Primarily for the dwelling, I would say would be the concern that Chris spoke to, that we could address with the.
all right, so it's in the recommendation, that's why I don't want to have it voted on and then not kind of catch you by surprise afterward. That's why I just wanted to bring that up. But that's something that you can work out with Chris as well.
I can, indeed.
All right, if there's no other questions, a motion?
So I'll move to approve the plan with 2 conditions to be negotiated through with Chris. One regarding the extent of roof runoff to be infiltrated and a split rail fence or other barrier to be installed at the rear of the home.
All right, thank you, Phil. Do you have a second?
Second,
That was Bert, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. So thank you, Bert. Have a good night.
Chris will work out, okay?
No worries, man.
Thank you. Good evening, John.
All right.
I think he wants to use the water anyways, Mark, so I think he may be thinking something along those lines anyway. See, he's smiling, so I know. He doesn't. Thank you.
So we have Kieran Fennelly, ANRAD, to determine if resource areas are accurately depicted on the plan.
Thank you so much. Let's go to the room some more.
You're all set, we can start.
Alright, good evening Commissioners, I'm Graham McCrory here from the Park Corporation, here representing Kieran and Kristen Fenley. We are here with an ANRAD for the property at 791, 793 Main Road in Westport. We are requesting to confirm the edges of 2 DPWs and 2 isolated wetlands. You have an A series that goes along the western boundary of the property, a C series that's actually isolated on the property, but has a culvert that connects it to a DPW across the road. And then we have 2 isolated vegetated wetlands in the property interior. We also have the potential to run a pool within the A-series BBW. And the only other thing I'd mention is an agricultural pond easement off the property. We're requesting just confirmation that that doesn't have a buffer zone. In our opinion, it doesn't meet the definition of pond or BBW under the Wetlands Protection Act. That being said, we have a file number 080-2706. We did not receive any comments. And the last thing I'll say is we do have priority and estimated habitat on the NHUSP mapper on the property. We have coordinated with NHUSP at this time, and we'll work in coordination with them as the process continues.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is Carrie and Fenley, 791, 793 Main Road. This is the old Dr. Cacaldi property, I think people are aware of. This is an ANRAD, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Greg LaCroix from PAR Engineering is here. Report date is October 31st, 2023. There is a file number, it's SE 802706. I also would like to note that they do have tentative approval from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program through their filing process for a MESA application for this project. So the description of work, the applicant's representative, wetland scientist Greg LaCroix from PAR Engineering, walked the site with the agent. The property is the former Dr. Cacaldi office, which extends to the rear open fields behind Bay Coast Bank. The bordering vegetated wetland areas determined to be accurately represented on the plan. Two isolated vegetated wetlands were also identified correctly. The area within the delineated A series is also indicated as a potential vernal pool by Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program and their mapping. The property is also a box turtle habitat, or the majority of the site is. The owner has applied to MESA and received the allowance to utilize 4.71 acres for a proposed commercial use with a driveway extension, parking, and a stormwater system, and a drinking water well will be considered here on the property. This work is outside of our jurisdiction, so majority of this work has been incorporated in this approval through the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. The existing proposed use, again, is not within our resource area purview, except it is estimated habitat. They have recently received their final approvals. So what I am going to read to you now is the wetland flag series that we are approving for this. This would be bordering vegetated wetland flags A2 through A38, which includes that potential vernal pool. Wetland flag A100 to A106, and C1 through C10. Then there are isolated vegetated wetlands that are flags B1 through B11 and D1 through D7.
I have it as,
Go for it.
C1 through C11, I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, I said, oh, so it's not C10, it's C11, all right. C1 through C11, sorry. There's no work proposed on this application. This is specifically to garner the location of these resource areas with respect to the project. Recommendations, Westport Conservation Commission, with inclusive of the conditions of the Natural Heritage's MESA acceptance, the resource areas be approved as shown on the plan dated 9/26/23. And I add a comment, because I forgot to add this in my report, that I do agree with PAR's interpretation of that isolated land subject to flooding on the corner of the property there. That actually is an old farm pond. It has no inlet outlet, and it does not have a buffer zone because of that. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have any questions? Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the audience?
I have a question. I'm with
Can you-
I'm on Main Road.
Can you just stand up and...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm Cheryl Malala. I live on Village Way, 18 Village Way. I'm a condo owner. And we got these registered letters, so I don't know if this is part of your plan, because there is a designation on the main road going in on the left side. It's map 77, lot 28B. Is that part of that? It's the same concept about wetlands.
Yes, this is 28 feet.
Okay. So we're just trying to figure out, we saw the orange ribbons going up, and we all got the registered letters, so I'm a condo owner, and I'm also had a vetted interest. So I'm just trying to see how does that apply to us?
Not understanding, sorry. How does it apply? Just
Yeah.
The bucket where the wetlands is designated, because I know you put up orange ribbons
Yeah.
along the walkway that we have.
So this hearing tonight is just to...
Identify the areas.
Correct, but there's no proposed use at this point. So what's up on the map on the board is what's being identified as wetlands, which was checked by our agent, but there's no proposed use at this time. So this gives them the opportunity to work within the areas that are considered uplands.
I would also say, our flags are pink, so there might be.
Or Matt, maybe.
Okay, I didn't know if there was different flags from
Okay.
the.
She was notified
Try
through
to
the
buy
process.
orange pink,
Yeah.
When they,
hot pink.
when they file for work, if it infringes on or close to the buffer zone, they'll file a notice of intent, in which case you would get notified again.
Right, because it's right up to where they walk along. We have a lot of elderly there, as you know. That's all. Good, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, no questions, looking for a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion from Jason, do we have a second?
Second.
Just with the correction that it's, well, it's like
C11.
C1 to 11 instead of 10.
Yeah.
Correct that.
And then a second from Kevin, all those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, yeah. Thank you, sir. Next we have,
See you guys.
Eric Reposo, Anrad, Pittsbridge Road, to determine if resource areas are accurately depicted on the plan. Eric Reposo? Eric Reposo?
Are you guys interested in seeing the conditions set forth in this, or you're okay? Did you get the green? Did I get them? I didn't get anything, but. You don't have them on you at all? Let me, if Mr. Chairman, you allow me.
Yeah. The property of the site plan.
What is
I
it?
do better.
You Martin again?
I like them too.
Did you make it out there to check the Watershed Alliance? I know that was like, we're trying to coordinate everybody's schedules.
I had a kind of semi-bad weekend, a couple of days, so.
Been busy?
No.
Was that?
A lot of stuff come up, well, this weekend?
Yeah, personal stuff.
Hopefully it worked out for you. Where is this?
It's at the end of High Ridge Road. High Ridge Road, and we're probably gonna continue. I asked somebody to send me an email to be careful.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's just a open house up the top of High Ridge Road.
A seafood thing or?
There's a house for sale on top there.
Yeah, like natural.
It's, so the other section of Pine Hill from me, go down and right hand side. It's almost directly across from the Novichok
What's that?
Preserve, right?
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the double barrel road.
Nice to see.
Got a friend there who's got a whole bunch of dead cedar trees, so every so often we go back there and we cut some trees, and it's nice and dry, dead cedar.
You smell this, you grow.
It's great, yeah.
Right? Sorry for the kind owners to walk.
No, Mr. Chairman, I did not receive any green cards.
All right, so we'll do it to the next meeting, Sean?
Yeah, that's fine.
I will, if you have scheduled a perk, I'll let you move in that direction.
I'd like to be able to do that if possible.
There you go, I'll give you that one.
All right, so what is it, one of the next meeting's the 21st? Sound good, 14.
Leon?
Next meeting's the 21st, correct? All right, so I need a motion to continue Eric Reposo, Anrad, Hybrid Road, Hybrid
High
Road,
Ridge.
to determine if resource areas are actually depicted in the plan. That's gonna be the 21st of November. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to continue.
Do we have a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Second from Phil. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Okay, that's continued, Bill. Next, we have the continuances. Blue Cat LLC, notice of intent, lot 4B, 4C, 4G, Westport Lakes, construct independent living facility in the buffer zone. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Carlos Filippi with CEC, representing the applicant. If I may, is it possible that we hook up to the computer just through PowerPoint, maybe a couple blow-ups?
They just told me that there's a HDMI hookup there.
Okay.
This shows on the screen?
Almost long enough, right?
It should show up on there, Mr. Chairman.
You have to turn it on.
I,
Whatever here. Is this, right? Is this?
Do you have remote control?
he's taller than I.
All this technology is wonderful.
So it's gonna shoot it on this.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Not. Some Saturday.
Well, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Do something, right? We do have the board.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
I can give you a chair to put that on at least.
Patience.
Plug all this stuff together, screw in the fuse in the basement.
If the power goes out, we'll get our cell phones out, right? Is there a, outlet, just in case we need power? There's about like 18 things plugged in there, I don't know about that. That's
I'm
gonna
gonna add a
blow a
little
fuse.
questionnaire when you apply. Do you need technology? Start the meeting early.
Yeah, we go.
You good?
Yeah.
You're basically screw the fuse in it.
Bring back Zoom meetings.
What's that?
Bring back the Zoom meetings.
Yeah,
Go to Dartmouth.
yeah.
Boo, hiss. Can't sell yourself in a Zoom meeting. Do you think you can?
Spider-Man, yeah.
So,
You just like wearing your PJs, that's all.
don't have to, worry from here up.
You have no response?
No, it's good enough. It's not registered on the screen for some reason. This is the only question. That's a lot of instructions.
Yeah, I apologize about that, I mean, it seemed.
That's quick close. There it is.
Is that in Westport?
Yeah.
We're directly adjacent to that.
I don't think we have this kind of technology.
You like the technology, you know?
It's the first time I've seen that used, I didn't know it actually worked.
Do you ever use those boards? Those work pretty well sometimes.
Yeah. We haven't, I mean, they gave it to us in a haste with no, no implementation on how to use it. Yeah, so, the planning board is a little pro savvy on the use of this, so, we let them have the reign.
We have those kind of things in the office too. Nobody knows how to use the touch screen, so you just use it as kind of a big webcam basically. Thank you for your patience. And I'll just do this whichever one shows up first here. We'll be respectful of your time. I don't think we'll have to take too much time during the presentation.
With respect to that, I think you're entitled to your time to speak, but also that we've just cruised through about 5 hearings, so I think we're doing pretty good. Thanks to Sean for getting his green cards.
We want to show the normal slide. You all get to see the behind the scenes. Oh, no, that's all right. Okay. We'll find out. So now we know for next time, right? What's up here? All right, again, thank you for your time. Carlos Gomes, the CEC, representing the applicant. We're here in front of you. It's our second hearing with the Conservation Commission. I'll provide a quick overview of the project and then get into some of the revisions that we made since the initial submission to get to where we are today. So to recap, the property that we have here is off of Westport Lakes Drive. It's 143 acres in total. Ultimately, we'll be submitting a plan to create a 30-acre parcel, which will include the development that you see in front of you there. So it is a development of 30 townhome buildings, 56 units of residential homes, and a community building. We're in front of the Conservation Commission for work within the 100-foot buffer zone. Again, we don't have any work in the actual wetlands. There's no wetland impacts. It's all purely just a buffer zone project. So since the initial submission that we had, it was quite a while ago. We actually resubmitted new plans back in October. In response to peer review comments, the Conservation Commission engaged a peer reviewer to take a look at the plans, provide comments. We responded to those comments. Part of the work that we did is we went out to the site, we performed some additional test pits out at the site in the location of the proposed stormwater basins, just to better verify the underlying soils conditions and the elevations of the groundwater. We also made some revisions to the plans, some tweaks on the stormwater management design, the basins, as well as the evaluation of how we looked at the overall drainage for the development as a whole. So subsequent to that, with the revised plans, there was another response from the peer review engineer. Looking at those comments, it seems like all the responses that we had and the revisions that we had in response to those comments were met to their satisfaction. So I think we're at a point where there's no outstanding comments or issues as far as the peer review is concerned. And we also have subsequently made the submission to the planning board. So we're in the process with the planning board as well. So we've started receiving comments from that process. Most notably some comments from the fire department. Made some small tweaks to the plans in response to some of the things that they want us to incorporate into the project. So I'll just walk through some of the design of where we are today and the changes that we've made since the initial submission. So grading drainage. So as noted a little while ago, we added some additional test pits. We went out to the site, got an excavator, we had cleared a little bit of space here for the access to the test pits in the basin at the southerly end, one in the middle of the site, as well as another basin that we have at the northerly end of the site as well. So we performed 5 additional test pits, and the findings of that were basically that the groundwater was consistent as the original test pits here in the front of the site. So the groundwater is about 42 to 54 inches below grade, which was consistent with what we saw elsewhere on the site. So it was a sandy loam material that we saw at the depth of where the infiltration would be. And that ends up being about 1.3 to 2.2 feet below the bottom of the basin. So that was one of the things that the peer reviewer wanted us to take a look at, make sure the groundwater wasn't getting into the basins as it related to the capacity that might be lost with that. So we took a look at that, we confirmed we are above it, but because we are within that 2-foot setback vertically from the groundwater elevation, we're conservatively not taking credit for the infiltration of the basin. So they've been designed as a detention basin from that standard. One of the additional things that they had us take a look at was just evaluating the overall capacity of the basins, because we're not taking credit for the infiltration. We just want to make sure that the basins were sized conservatively to hold the volume above the low flow outlet. So we started all our analysis assuming the basins were essentially full already up to the outlets, and the additional storage capacity was evaluated in HydroCAD analysis for the pre-development, post-development analysis. Project still does meet those standards, so we are having less total runoff in the proposed condition, less volume as well, going to the adjacent wetlands, which are the design points. So we evaluated it conservatively that way. We also took a look at the off-site areas that were draining to the site. So those familiar with it drains essentially the topography slopes from page north to page south, which is west to east towards the wetlands. So there are some off-site areas that drain essentially through the site. So we took a look at what those areas were. We analyzed them and made sure the basins were able to accommodate that flow that comes essentially through the site and be handled through the stormwater management system before discharging back to the wetlands. So we took a look at that as well and included that in the revised materials provided to the peer review consultant. So this is the northerly end of the project. There were some minor revisions to the basins themselves. We added some emergency overflows just to make sure there was a defined path for storms if we get anything beyond the 100-year storm event, just so it's concentrated in smaller areas. And then some small changes to the grading around the site. So some of the changes that we also made in response to the comments that we started getting back from the planning board submission was related to the southerly cul-de-sac. So we had a 50-foot radius for the cul-de-sac. The fire department indicated that they wanted to see a 60-foot radius for the outside radius of the turnaround. So we did update the plans to reflect that. So what that ultimately ended up doing was just changing the shape and the geometry of the cul-de-sac because the island on the inside also got larger. There's really a negligible change in the amount of pavement there, but it did shift the geometry a little bit. So we did add a retaining wall along the easterly edge of this cul-de-sac so that we could maintain the limited disturbance consistent with what was already there in the previous plans. So we're not expanding limited disturbance with that revision the fire department asked for, basically just realigning the geometry of the pavement a little bit. And then one additional element that did come up after speaking with Mr. Capone was just identifying the potential for wetlands to be on the adjacent property here. Although there was an ANRAD issued or an ORAD issued for the property, identifying that the wetlands stop at wetland flag B10 here essentially, we're conservatively showing a potential or presumed wetland that extends off to adjacent properties, just identifying that any sort of a buffer zone associated with that wouldn't have an impact on the project. So we're just conservatively analyzing that. Should there be something on the adjacent property? Again, it didn't show up on the ORAD, so the official wetlands don't reflect that. So it was a conservative analysis that we included in the plans there. Again, this is a grading plan that just shows a blow up of that southerly cul-de-sac, showing the retaining wall along the edge. It's a 3-4 foot wall, so really it's not really a safety issue. It's a relatively small wall. We are including a guardrail on the high side as well to provide that additional protection. But there's more than enough space. We did take a look at the turning movements there for the fire truck, and it can more than accommodate the turning movements there without having any sort of problems. And that's basically the extent of the revisions and the additional materials that were provided as part of the plan. It has been a while, so I have to answer any questions if you have. We believe we're in a good position, so we look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Chris is going to read his report, and then we can work on any questions.
Mr. Chairman, Blue Cat LLC, this is Westport Lakes Road for notice of intent application presented by CEC. Report date is October 20th, 2023. The file number is SE802685. This recently has been submitted to the planning board, as Carlos mentioned, so we are looking at their November 28th discussion for this matter. To the board, this is a revised plan based on Field Engineering's comment letter. The final review from Field Engineering has been received. They have reviewed all changes and have approved the revised plan and stormwater report. They make recommendations for conditions to place on the order of conditions for a SWIP and also of phasing of the project. The last revision was to extend the buffer zone line on the south end to reflect the wetlands on an adjacent parcel. As Carlos had mentioned, that was kind of to appease the neighbor who was questioning respectfully that location based on something he had done in the past with his delineation. Given they do have an approved ORAD, I understand, but we do not usually go onto adjacent properties, so I know there's wetlands in that area. I reviewed them. I don't think they affect this project. That's why I recommended that they just show that buffer zone extension. Please see the attached final letter from Field Engineering that I included in your packets. They basically go point by point on the revisions that were requested and how they felt that they had all been met. This project, initially I was going to bring it to a vote for the board, and approve it contingent on the planning board acceptance, and any changes with the planning board would require a new NOI, in essence, depending on how much they amend. Seeing the fire department has already made comments, which really haven't even had any other. I know the planning board's not big fans of the project. I can't say why. Maybe it's its long and linear nature because of the constraints the property has. I just have one question. I know you guys are really, what is the 60-foot setback? Is that part of the planning board's requirements in such an application?
It's an 80-foot setback, so there is an 80-foot setback.
80-foot setback.
Right, 2 buildings, 2 structures, so that is part of the way it was submitted.
Thank you, because I'm asking why you can't push anything away. Everything in their interpretation is kind of pushing things toward the wetland, and that's not necessarily your doing. My last question is, can you extend this project further to the north and alleviate some of your close proximities in relation to the wetland activities? I know you have additional acreage that is in that area. I know you have designated this particular spot. So maybe that's a little beyond this discussion right now, but I don't know what the planning board's concerns are. If they would like to see you make it more, they claim there's no open space. I'm not really sure from their perspective what they didn't like about this presentation.
Sure, we haven't heard anything about
I
negative sort of
personally
feedback.
think it's a great location for such a project, but I am leery now to say let's approve it when I think they may change something on you. So I think for you and your client, it would be best to keep the notice open, allow us to continue to at least after the planning board's hearing. And if they don't recommend any major changes, then I'd be more than welcome to bring it to a vote if you wish. That is my suggestion to the board. That's all I have.
Yeah, we're kind of in a catch-22. We've already been through 2 preliminary meetings with the planning board and their town planners, assistant town planner and planner. And we've already had a meeting with the planning board. And it was evident at the meeting that a couple of the members who were new hadn't been through the process. I had permitted the only 55 and over in town, which was Oak Ridge.
Which they despise.
Which now they, with the change, at the time, everyone loved it. Now, some new members of the board are saying it doesn't meet
Correct. So
the bylaw, or it doesn't meet their idea of what would be idyllic for Westport. Frankly, it's a 55 and over. It's it is not an assisted living facility. It's an independent living facility. The target audience for this are people who have reached the age of 55 and maybe really want to downsize. This is the parcel that's available for development, so as far as shifting it,
okay,
that is not a possibility.
Thank you very much.
With regards to, we understand that the planning board will have changes, but one of the things that they wanted us to do is make sure, before we came back to them, that our conservation issues, at least at this end, were taken care of. That became evident very early on. And the history of this land, I think some of you members might remember, it was going to be a golf course community. And the town, in their wisdom, due to one member of the board, decided that it was not going to be appropriate, a golf course was not appropriate for Westport. So the family now, after several years and many ideas being tossed around, had come up with this. And we believe we've exceeded actually all of the planning board regulations with regards to the 55 and over. For some reason they wanted, one of the comments was, we want buildings closer together, which does not fit with the model or even fit with their own requirements, because there is setback requirements between the buildings. So that was one of the big comments, which we were kind of shocked by, because we couldn't move them without requesting a waiver of their own regulations. We couldn't move them close together. With regards to the setback, ideally, there's nothing in those backyards. The regulation that they promulgated for the 55 and over didn't take into account the fact that individual site plans may be more beneficial by allowing the units to be close to the rear property lines or the side property lines, whichever the configuration allows. But we've actually, in the design of this, exceeded the regulations of the planning board. We anticipate that, although there will be complaints, the last one I had, they wanted to know what color shingles were going up on each individual building, so I imagine it will be more of the same.
So they want to know that you met conservation.
Yes.
I mean, so, as Chris said, we hate to have to file an amendment. Would you prefer to get a letter saying you met our requirements and keep it open?
I've spoken with my clients about it, and we're willing to come back and file any, an amended notice of intent, or request an amendment to the grant that you folks would give us tonight. It's just taken so long, and we're anxious to move on.
And if I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, through the chair, I'm not here to delay that process.
No,
I just-
Chris has been very helpful.
I was just thinking that, seeing the fire department already said something, that there may be some other comments that come down your way, and I think it would be important to keep your order. Not everything is an amendable type thing on a notice of intent, so.
Understood.
Major reconfigurations or, amendments are meant for minor changes and agreements to the board. So if they are acceptable of that, Mr. Chairman, with the conditions that I have set forth to you already in this report,
Chris, can I have 1 second?
Sure. And again, that's willing to the board if you feel, I think the project meets all our requirements, and we have had a thorough review done with the respect to their initial concerns have all been ironed out, so.
If the reality of life is they're gonna request changes. And I just asked my client, and he is if the board's willing to write a letter to the planning board and indicating the plan is submitted, currently a notice of intent for the project as it stands could be issued.
And that we're keeping the
And we're keeping
notice
open
open,
in
just in
anticipation
Right.
of any, changes that they may require.
Probably better for you guys, yeah.
I'd appreciate that. And I think, it's a gamble, but if you're willing to issue that letter, we'd appreciate it.
Reasonable.
All right, does anybody have any questions on the table?
I just have one, in terms of forward-looking maintenance of the stormwater controls, is that something that is going to be done by, I guess, the condominium association?
Sure, yeah, all of the maintenance of both the combined sewage disposal system and the stormwater system would be the responsibility of the condominium association.
Okay.
And there is an O&M plan that's in the stormwater report that outlines all the procedures, the maintenance activities.
Right, which is something that Field mentioned as part of their SWIP, not only that, but incorporating those as conditions in the order. So
Right, okay.
those would be part of, as far as maintenance. These are storm scepter units, they
Right.
need to have maintenance on those. So there is those concerns that I do.
Right,
So, I dictate to Phil's concerns that we
Okay.
can address those with conditions.
So, if that's the case, then you're meeting, when are you meeting the planning board, the end of November?
It is gonna be November 28th.
28,
So
so,
we can, if the board feels, I would recommend we continue the meeting until December 12th, which is the next meeting after after planning board, and issue a letter stating that at this time, as presented to it, it meets the requirements for all the conditions. Or however you word that.
yeah, sure, I'd be willing to do that.
That'd be great. Thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen.
So, that would be my recommendation.
Yep, I
So-
would make a motion to
I'll make a
continue,
motion
Mr.
to-
Chairman,
Yeah.
and
So
then
make a
the
motion to
second,
that.
right.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Hold on a minute, wait a minute.
So there's no problem with the chair
Okay,
making a
well,
motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue the meeting until, what did I say, the 12th, December 12th? And we issue a letter stating, for the planning board purpose, that the plan meets our requirements as shown tonight, without any future modifications, and so they can move forward with their permitting process.
Second.
What's the date on the plan, Chris?
Revised 11/2/23, I believe it says, if I go. Can
I got the
we-
way.
That is the date, yeah.
I think it's November 2nd, 2023?
Correct, you sent out electronic copies.
Yes,
today.
you did. No,
It's dated the
I'm
second.
just trying to
Yep.
read your.
It is the second, yep.
I did good, didn't I?
It is, yeah.
All right, so-
Leg on the
Take
team.
these off.
So approve, so let's send a letter saying that we would approve based on the plan dated November 2nd, 2023. So we have a motion from who? I made the motion, who seconded it?
And I seconded it.
Phil second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that's unanimous. So, Chris, I'm gonna write a letter hopefully next day.
Yeah, I'll get that off to Michael Burris, and I'll CC Brian and Carl.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Chris, they're all condos, right? There's no single family.
There are a couple single families in, but the majority are those.
So you're gonna have a condo association and a homeowners association?
No,
How-
it'd be, done and organized under, Massachusetts condominium chapter 130. So it's even the, 15, the units that will be subsidized units under this bylaw would be covered under the condominium association.
Okay, because they are two different,
Yes.
drastically,
No
two different
HOAs.
things, right, they're, okay, gotcha, okay.
Yeah, so it'd have the standard trustees that would be, in charge.
Gotcha, cool.
Good night, John.
Thank you.
You have to wait a couple more years before you can get a golf cart and live down there. You can't live there yet.
I was just gonna say, I might be able to get you an in on when they're available.
I'm only 2 years away.
Give Paul and us a chance.
I'm 2 years away, Kevin.
I already put a deposit down.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of old husbands like, no.
Oh, man.
Keep him out.
Don't let him in.
All right, next we have Dwight Silver, notice of intent, 181, Sylvia, excuse me. Notice of intent, 181 East Beach Road, expansion of existing shed and buffer zone, coastal dune, Berry Beach, lands of coastal zone floors. Is that going on there?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman. Dwight Sylvia.
Is anybody coming in?
No, I'll do it for him. I told him I'd do it for him because it's basically a revision to the plan based on the ZBA's denial of him, so he is relocating the shed per the zoning requirements.
Right.
So he has to lift his shed up in the air and reinstall sonotubes, raised above the sand elevation. The shed will be relocated to the proper setback distance shown on that revised plan, that we have on file.
Did I send Dwight Silver's folder up? No, bound by mistake.
Train wreck.
Is Dwight Silver's folder down there, guys?
Did you sign the wrong one?
Probably, because I have Westbrook's right here, so we'll just switch the signature pages we did.
Are you pulling
Uh-oh.
Jason Powell?
Houdini?
Yeah, you do, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, switch it, take this signature page,
Yes, sir.
put that with,
Boom.
You can do it for me, sir. Thank you. That is a simple swap. So Mr. Sylvia came before us with a request to put a shed at a 5-foot setback off the property line. He took it to zoning as I had suggested and he was denied. So he has no recourse except to relocate this with the 10-foot setback requirement. The revised plan does show that. It's submitted by the firm CEC that was here this evening. And it meets all the requirements of the regulations. So I would ask that the Westport Conservation should approve as shown, the shed relocated on the revised plan. Shed must be elevated and same deck requirements per the ZBA.
is this one that's like 20-something feet in?
Yeah.
Is this, no,
Shed.
this is actually a shed he
It's shed. You
built
put, you're right.
arrogantly 5 feet from the property line, brand new construction.
Yep.
And then asked for it to be where it was at that time, and the ZBA ruled that he had no hardship, and that he obviously should have came before he took the old shed down, and they maybe would have given him some consideration, but because of the disregard for the process, they felt that there was no hardship here, and they therefore making it be relocated properly.
Now, is this, don't sheds on East Beach Road have to be removable?
We've had it two ways, Mr. Chairman. There have been some that have been allowed to stay, and there have been some that have been allowed to be
Well,
moved.
historically,
So-
historically on,
Historically, we've had different ways people do it, so it's kind of confusing. I think this shed is built adequately, as we talked about DEP's requirements to be 18 to 24 inches off the beach. I think this meets that requirement, so. If the commission feels that they don't support that, I can understand. Mr. Sylvia has incorporated 2 structures on what is a barrier beach, and the fact that we didn't necessarily agree on how this process came to this point, so.
No, I don't have a problem as long as it's just.
This is for storage of water, but then again, we could have an Airbnb rented out next year, I'm not really sure, Mr. Chairman.
Was the verbiage used, was like the word hardship used?
Yes.
It was.
They said that he had no hardship.
And Crimea River.
All right, so we have 181 East Beach Road, Dwight Sylvia, that's SE 802685. And Chris's recommendation is the Westport Conservation Commission should approve as shown on the revised plan. Shed must be elevated and deck per ZBA decision.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so if anybody has any questions, if not, a motion.
I would, I mean, if it's within our purview and up to our discretion about whether or not a new shed stays or has to be removed, I mean, given all the other nonsense, for lack of a better word, that we've had to endure on that lot.
Yep.
If it's within our discretion to have that removed seasonally,
It is.
it's not anything, it shouldn't be grandfathered, it's a new structure.
Absolutely.
He tried to build it on the road, had to move it. There are times when we can bend and be lenient and work with people, and there are times when we have to, at some point, take a stand so we don't keep setting precedents that get us steamrolled over.
Make a motion.
So
Totally
I will
understand,
make a motion to approve current revised plan with the provision that the shed must be removed seasonally in accordance with the East Beach policy or whatever the.
So he should be building this on some sort of mobile trailer rather than.
Probably
on
should have done that originally, or should have gone through the permitting process and been instructed to do so from.
That is not unheard of, Mr. Chairman. We have asked others to do it in this fashion, so I am not going to dispute that. I think that is an acceptable motion. The applicant has been aggressive in his tactics, and he is more than entitled to bring this to before DEP for their decision on this type of structure.
All right, so we have a motion from Jason, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Kevin, all those in favor?
I'm going to
Opposed?
abstain.
Phil's gonna abstain. Anybody opposed? Or so that carries, Phil abstaining. All right.
So the motion is to construct a shed that is able to be removed.
I mean, it's either gonna, we did have one gentleman, we asked him to make it removable years ago, and I can't think of, I thought it was Dwight Sylvia, did he live down the road further?
No, that was Kevin Kerr.
Kevin
Kerr.
Kerr, electrician.
But I don't think he actually, I think he built it so it could actually be just put on a flatbed and taken away versus on wheels.
He built it on the flatbed, so
Okay.
it actually is there, mobile on wheels, so yes.
He had a mobile dock,
Yeah.
didn't he?
So that's,
I mean, not to be a hardo, but I mean, when we do have a significant storm event, all those structures are gonna wind up in the wet, and we're gonna have gas cans and all kinds of debris. Who knows what's stored inside those
There
things?
is nothing,
So-
the commission is making a determination based on prior knowledge.
my
so-
understanding when I got the commission, like some 12, 15 years ago, and I forget who, before Mike Sullivan, was that there were 2 or 3 sheds that were grandfathered in because they're historic.
Might be a little more than that, but yeah, there are a series of
Yeah,
them that
they were
have been,
historic.
and you can see the earth is,
Right. And
taking over.
everything post that period was supposed to be removable within, I think, 48 hours for a storm. That was my understanding. That's how we always permitted them back in the day, which seems like a long time ago. I think it was 15 years ago.
Did we get a full vote?
Yes. Everybody passed except for Phil. Phil abstained.
Phillips.
So anyway, let's
Thank
move
you.
on.
How many feet are they moving the structure when it's all said and done?
10 feet off the
So it's
sideline,
10.
so he's gonna move it
Okay.
5 feet.
Yep.
All right,
So that physically means lifting and,
It seems that if it doesn't impact the wetland anymore, we don't really have the authority to do something, because, and some other rule says that it should be done.
well, it's a barrier beach, so we do. This is a barrier beach, coastal dune, land
I know
subject to
it's a
flooding.
resource area, but
Yeah.
any determination that this alters the resource area, which is the language in the, is it gonna harm the resource area?
It could in itself, because it's a permanent structure, so any tidal influence that may wash across could be dispersed or pushed away in another direction.
All their permits are seasonal.
Yep.
And that was one of that's why this originally came out years ago.
So that's where we had requested newer styled sheds now, where had to be moved in case of such storm.
Because nothing is supposed to be left there after the permit expires, whatever the date is on that. And there's also part of the trail, part of their permit is all the structures are supposed to be removed when there's a declared storm within X amount of hours. And obviously it's built permanently on sonotubes or however they build it, they certainly can't remove it. And then Mother Nature removes it, and then, so, I mean, if we don't have the jurisdiction, then he can always go to the state, and, but that's something I believe years ago that the Board of Selectmen had mandated, with these seasonal permits, seasonal trailer permits, but we'll move on, and they can, get that figured out, but next is certificate of compliance for Gabby Rami.
Gabby Romney, 43 Bluebird Lane, Mr. Chairman.
NC 2651, correct.
Correct. This is certificate of compliance for a single-family home construction, file number SE 802651. The applicant has filed for a certificate of compliance for a single-family home, well, and sewage disposal system constructed in the buffer zone on Bluebird Lane. This is an older lot that was pre-existed today's zoning, so it's a little smaller than what lots are today. The entire area is seeded and growing and stabilized, so I recommend to the board, the Westport Conservation Commission should grant a full certificate of compliance as the project has been completed according to the plan of record for Gabby Romney, 43 Bluebird Lane, SE 802651.
All right, do we have any questions, if not a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue the full certificate of compliance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. It's unanimous, Salem. Thank you. All right, so we have, that closes out the hearings. Chris, we have a couple emergency certifications here.
Mr. Chairman, I have two emergency certificates requested for you. One is from the Highway Department. This is to install a dry hydrant located on Brayton Point Road. For the record, a dry hydrant is a strainer that is installed into the substrate or into the water, and then they put the snorkel on it for the fire engine apparatus to be able to attach to it and pump water for emergency uses. The highway department, the fire department experienced a fire on T Lane, and they ran into some issues with not being able to get a sufficient water source. So with that stated, they had looked at ways of improving that, and they were hoping to install this at Simon Brook. Simon Brook is located probably about 8 to 1,000 feet from Howland Road. It crosses the road. It is a perennial stream. They are hoping to install the dry hydrant right on this side. It will come up and attach to the stone and just have a brace just to allow it. So it's proposed with limited impact, and it comes under the public good for fire safety in respect to the emergency issuance. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
There's one of those dry hydrants next to Adamsville Pond.
That's
isn't it?
exactly correct, right.
I just noticed that for the first time the other day.
Yeah, I guess time to travel to that one would make it, again, critical, so they are trying to find alternative source in that region. That was a loss at that T Lane property. I think it was a chimney fire, so.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is important, and obviously I'll observe the installation to make sure that all environmental impacts are minimized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or a motion, would be great.
Make a motion to approve the installation of the dry hydrant
Under the emergency
and
certification.
the emergency certification.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, the second one I have is a little different and unique. It happens to do with a hazardous release of home heating fuel. This is located on Sanford Road, 708 Sanford Road. This is Dr. Shadvink Begur Shashadri. It's a dentist's office. And I hope you don't want me to repeat that, because I think I did a pretty good job of saying it.
That's pretty good.
The dentist had a oil tank rupture that was outside. And ironically, this is the second one that has ruptured on this property in the past 20 years. And I actually experienced both of them, so that's very strange. But the precautionary measures, they have installed numerous testing around the site, this being the dentist, Sanford Road here, this is a parking lot, and the wetland somewhere in the rear. So the sub pump did distribute the product out into the wetland area, so the area in green are the proposed removal areas of that impacted soil. The applicant is going to file an after-the-fact notice of intent, so this is for remediation of that impacted soil. They actually filled out the certificate of emergency for us. So again, this shows you a little generally on the location, approximately, and then the impacted area in that little hatch purple area. This is a site that functions on a tight tank for use of the building. So this location is very wet, given that tight tank is in use, and they had no other alternative. So this is going to be quite interesting, because there's obviously potential groundwater impact. So the sooner we remove this, the better. So I recommend the board issue an emergency certificate for the safety and public health for a 21 East site with a petroleum release at 708 Sanford Road.
All right, any questions, motion?
Move to approve emergency what is it, certification?
Certification form.
Certification form for a removal action on Sanford Road,
708 Sanford Road.
708 Sanford Road.
All right, thank you, Phil. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Burr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
For the record, Mr. Chairman, this is being provided by Bill Kenny from Riverhawk Environmental. So this is a licensed LSP that has initiated this request and has again agreed to file an after-the-fact notice of intent.
How much was it? How much?
I'm not sure, it was a 275 tank, but I think there's about 200 to 300 yards of material that could have come out, so roughly. And that, they've already had treatment here. They've had a containment unit running for a couple months.
Oh, you would have been fine until the sump pump.
Yeah, so this is probably it. And he just settled with the insurance company, now they're moving forward quickly to get it implemented. So there was a release, I think this is going on 2 years now, so, thank you.
So we have some bills. First one is for field engineering for the work with Blue Cap.
Correct.
Two invoices, one for $2379.25, one for $1593.75, for a total of $3,973. Need a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Kevin, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. So do we get enough money?
$4,000, Mr. Chairman, so they spend it to the dime.
All right, so we're good.
Good, okay.
All right.
Correct, so it mimics the deposit.
Kevin and Jason. All right, next is East Bay Media Group for advertising for hearings, $246 with promotion to pay.
Move to pay.
Thank you, Phil. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Phil Top, good there. All right. Next, we have W.B. Mason, $19.06. Magnets and paper clips.
I'm trying to be frugal.
Yeah, looking for a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Second.
Kevin, Jason, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Next is Crystal Home mileage, $464.39, and this is for a couple of months, I believe, right? This is for August 15th through October 17th. So basically, oh wait, there's more here. No, that's correct, yeah, okay, so that's 2 months. So $464.39, looking for a motion to pay.
Motion to pay.
Second. Jason, is that Tom? Jason, Tom. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And we have another W. So we already did the two for the same bill for W. Mason, so
Yeah, yeah. Oh.
there were two for 1906.
That is another.
Same thing, paper clips and magnets.
I see, I started to make it out.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just throw them all together.
Yeah.
I don't know what-
All right, so then we have some minutes. Going back to September 12th. I was here, let's see, myself, Jake, Kevin, Tom, Jason. Almost good, but Jake's not here. Next, we have October 10th minutes, which is myself, Tom, Burton, Jason, Phil, and absent was Kevin Carter, Jason, and Jacob. So we can vote on this. So we have the October 10th minutes that were sent out by Leon shortly after the meeting. So if no one has any changes, I'd like to vote to approve these minutes, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved for Jason. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And that is all I have for the evening.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we'll go motion to adjourn, please. That's an easy one, guys.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Phil. We have a second?
Second.
Second from Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, so.